What's up, guys? That guy the pencil here, and it is finally time. Let us discuss one of the most popular, one of the most powerful, and one of the most amazing heroes and amazing characters in My Hero Academia, Mirio Togata, or Lemillion, the savior of a million people. Now, I decided to do this success video a little bit differently. So instead of breaking it down into certain functions of where I think the character succeeds very well, I'm going to split it into two sections, the good and the bad. I feel like these success videos and these failure videos do need a little bit of evolution, and I feel like splitting it into good and bad is going to help show why this video is a success rather than a failure. So let's hop right into the good. The first fantastic thing to address about Togata is his introduction. I made an entire video praising Overhaul's introduction, you can go watch that, but to talk about the main fundamentals of an introduction that I believe are necessary, those things are build-up, jobbing, and a powerful presence. Like I mentioned in that video, if a character, not just villains actually, does not have that, well, in general, they just simply are not going to be a very memorable, very amazing character. But luckily enough, Togata succeeds in all of these aspects, and he does it in spades. So his build-up happens very quickly, but it's well established that he is one of the big three, aka the top UA students group. And it is also shown that he is the most stable of the big three. Now, what I mean by this is he's the most functional. Tamaki couldn't even speak to Class 1A, and Nejire got too distracted way too quickly. Yet Togata, he led the process very well and was shown to be very stable, which is very good for a hero that needs to represent themselves as a proper pillar for society. That's fantastic build-up right there. Then, obviously, the title of Big 3 is also a great build-up because it means he's the top UA student, easily out there, putting in the work power-wise, that's what's implied. And then, of course, you know what else is important in his introduction? It is the very natural need of jobbing. It's sad to say, but for a character to look good, they're gonna have to job characters. And the great thing about Togata is that he doesn't just job a character, he jobs an entire class. Class 1A, the class that has fought multiple villains, the class has been through so much, he bodies all of them in less than 7 seconds. He easily took out over half of Class 1A. The feat's impressive. He jobs an entire class of technically worthy students, at least how the series has shown it up to this point. He does those first two parts of his introduction very well, and that obviously leads very well into the powerful presence. Mirio or Togata is just naturally intimidating because of the power he wields due to his stance. He has an aura about him. It's a positive aura for the most part. He's smiling a lot, he's showing off, but he is still a dangerous individual, which is very important for showing off a character like Togata, who's going to be very important in the narrative that he's set up in. So all that, his introduction, fantastic. For the hype of Togata, he was said to be a person who's going to rival for the spot of #1 hero, actual #1 pro hero. Was that a lot of gas? Probably, I'm not going to lie, but still, I still say that hype is fantastic for Togata. Moving on, we have to talk about his fights. His fights are very short, sadly enough. There's not much meat to any of his fights really. He dominates 1A very quickly, and in his fight against Overhaul, he is controlling the fight very well until he gets shot, and then he's absolutely dominated because the match flips completely because he loses his quirk. But those fights show off what Mirio has in spades, and it's skill, precision, and understanding. One of my things that I think is very much lacking in My Hero Academia is the sense of skill necessary to defeat another opponent. And I believe Mirio, with his highly technical quirk Permeation, is fantastic and is overall a great example of skill-based fighting rather than pure power-based fighting. while Togata still is extremely powerful and extremely fast and extremely strong, he's still human for the most part. He still has a extremely dangerous quirk that needs to work around more than it works for him. He does not have free answers to every situation. He must figure things out. And it's really well displayed in his fight. This panel right here, where he kicks through Eri's head to kick Chrono, is one of the most impressive skill-based feats I've seen in the entirety of My Hero Academia, because the precision required, the pure understanding of his body and its length and its width, the ability to do that is so impressive and so rare in terms of My Hero Academia itself. You never see the level of high-level thinking required to fight. Then, with Mirio Togata's fights, it's one of the most impressive things about his character. And then, even after the fact, after he lost his quirk, despite us not seeing much of it, we know for a fact that somehow, in some way, Togata managed to survive fighting Overhaul and protecting Eri at the same time without his quirk. That in of itself, despite it not being a fight that is shown to us, is extremely insane and extremely, for lack of a better term, metal. Because he was contending with Overhaul with a quirk by the skin of his teeth, honestly. He was still, they were on even ground for the most part. It's just that Overhaul could not hit him. So now that Overhaul can hit him, and that Overhaul does not care about Eri, to think that Mirio kept fighting for who knows how long after the fact is so impressive. It's amazing, and I can respect it a lot. For his demeanor once again is fantastic. He carries himself in a very #1 way. He's a beacon of hope. His name, Lemillion, obviously he wants to save 1 million people. He is great demeanor wise. He lifts the mood every single time he's on screen, and it's perfect. Even when he's destroyed, beaten down, quirkless, he still is there. He's still pushing himself. He's still giving it his all. He's showing off quite the positive mentality for people like Midoriya to copy, for people like Uraraka, Kirishima, Asui, all these people who are there. That is the kind of demeanor that they want to take. Togata sets a good example for everyone who interacts with him, and that is extremely important for someone to do when they are the type of character that Togata is. He's supposed to be a leader type. He's supposed to be someone who is going to act as a guide for those who need one, inadvertently or not. So his demeanor, it's a solid 12 out of 10, perfection for what he needs to be within the narrative itself. All the way to the end, and even after the end of the Overhaul arc, when we get to the UA Festival arc, he's still his same happy self. Sure, he's quirkless, sure, he's lost everything, years and years of work, countless struggle and effort. He may have lost all that, but he still is smiling. He's still being a fantastic guide in the demeanor sense, in the personality sense. It's very, very important for someone like him not to shatter, because it lets Midoriya know that he cannot shatter in case something similar happens to him. That's fantastic. That's amazing. However, what I still like, and I think is the final praise that I have to give to Togata, is his realism. When you see the broken look on his face after he fought Overhaul, quirkless, for who knows how long, while defending one child after having his entire life's work stripped away from him in a matter of seconds. It is one of the most realistic, heart-wrenching, saddening panels that exist across the entire My Hero Academia manga, if not the saddest panel. Because you as a reader understand the pain that he's going through, because we understand what he lost. It is one of the, it's the, honestly, the peak of My Hero Academia emotion-wise. And the way that he's forced to suffer even further. Not only does he lose his quirk, but then he loses Night Eye. I do not like Night Eye's death in the context of the narrative, but for what it does for Togata as a character, it's very, very good, because he cries, he breaks down, he is sad that his teacher is gone and there's nothing that he could do about it, and in a sense he's guilty for it. However, he picks himself back up because he knows that he cannot wallow in his sadness forever, and he still has a job to do, even if he can't save a million people. Fantastic, amazing character, amazing arc. It's so simple and beautiful. And honestly, this is what I'm saying. This is what Horikoshi needs to do more of. Introduce these powerful characters. And I'm not talking about strength. Powerful characters with strong arcs, strong foundations. Even across short time frames, Mirio left such a strong impression that he is one of the favorite characters for multiple people who read My Hero Academia. It's an impressive feat, and I believe it's fantastic. However, we have things to talk about. The main issues that I have when it comes to Mirio are really three main ones. One, he's a stopgap. He was not the person to defeat Overhaul. He was simply a stalling measure until Midoriya got there and beat Overhaul. That's very sad. It devalues his entire character, from his introduction and all his hype to down to the fact that he was the one supposed to be saving and teaching Midoriya, not vice versa. It's a sad state of affairs for Togata because it pretty much undermines his entire existence and undermines basically every other character's entire existence in that arc, because it just all led up to Midoriya taking all the credit towards the end. So that's sad, and that's not a good facet of his character because it leads to an underwhelming conclusion. He was hyped up to be the best of the best, and while he got to show a little of it, he's now been rendered completely useless, and he as a character was rendered completely useless by the ending of that fight. The second main issue, he is a failure as an example of what Midoriya should do. Now, what do I mean? Well, I'm basically saying that his function was supposed to be the leadership type that was supposed to show Midoriya the ropes, but obviously due to how the arc ended, that was not the case. Midoriya ended up saving Togata, so Togata kind of falls apart in that one. It's very sad, but it's how that works out. Togata just fails one of the main basic functions he was supposed to have as a character, unless I'm reading that wrong, which is entirely possible. And then the final issue that I have to have with Togata is how he's completely useless after the UA School Festival arc. Now, is this his fault? No. But due to the existence of vigilantes, I have knowledge of a quirkless individual who's extremely strong and extremely fast, just like Togata, who actually has a narrative relevance within that. So Togata really has no excuse to just completely drop off the face of the planet, especially when he could be teaching Midoriya combat, something that Midoriya desperately needs. That's not that good, if I have to say so myself. In terms of that, I don't know how Horikoshi could introduce him back into this very, very power-crept world that he's made. And it's crazy to think about since the Overhaul arc was only about 100 chapters ago from the current manga, but Togata has been so horribly power-crept out of the series that it's unlikely that he'll ever return to any role of prominence even close to his own arc, and that's a sad, bad thing. However, that's it for the bad. Seriously, Togata is great. All around. Fantastic. Is he my personal favorite character? No. But that's just due to me being weird. I definitely understand why he is the pinnacle of the series for a lot of people, and I do understand the massive respect that the character has garnered over his existence, and he is honestly just amazing. From a character with such little time to show off what they showed off in that short time period was impressive. From a fantastic introduction to amazing hype to wonderful peak top 5 fights to an amazing demeanor and a fantastic sense of realism. Mirio Togata may not have been able to save 1 million people, but he knew and can always live with the fact that he at least managed to save one. Hey, not much talking here at the end. Just tell me what you think about the good and bad style. I know it sounds a bit weird for me to praise a character for so long only to like hit you with the negatives at the end, but I feel like that's more balanced for this series. But that's all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, in the comment section down below, if you have opinions on Togata, drop them. I want to hear them. I want to hear your hot takes about Togata. I don't really have many. I just think he's good. Like, there's nothing I can... those 3 criticisms were the only ones that I could come up with after extensive, deep thought on him. So there you go with that. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off.